Imagine standing at a crossroads where an entire empire could collapse within hours. Rome, mistress of the world, trembles. The Senate waits with suspended hearts, generals calculate every step, and common soldiers, men of flesh and blood, realize they carry the weight of eternity on their shoulders. On one side, Gaius Julius Caesar, the conqueror of Gaul, bold enough to defy the laws, cross the Rubicon and cry out to destiny, Alea iacta est. On the other, Pompey the Great, the revered hero, protector of the Republic, a man many believed to be the final bulwark against tyranny. This was not merely a struggle for power, it was the very soul of Rome at stake. But here lies the shock. At Dyrrhachium, Caesar, who seemed invincible, would suffer a bitter defeat. A battle where cunning and courage clashed against numbers and prudence. A battle that showed the world even giants can bleed. And yet, from this failure would be born a turning point that forever changed history. Now, go back. With me in time. We are in 48 BC. Rome is not merely a city, it is a political machine at war with itself. The first triumvirate has collapsed, alliances have become rivalries, and the Republic, already diseased, is about to be struck at its heart. If this story has already gripped your attention, imagine what is yet to come. Battles, betrayals, and decisions that shape the destiny of the greatest empire in history. So before we continue this journey, become part of it. Leave your like now. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. By doing this, you show that you value this content and ensure you will never miss the next revelations about Rome. Your participation strengthens this space and motivates me to bring you even more epic stories. After the collapse of the first triumvirate, Rome plunged into chaos. The Senate, divided between loyalties and fears, saw Caesar as a threat to the Republican balance. Pompey, exalted as the defender of the Republic, gathered senators, aristocrats, and the greatest resources of the empire to stop him. It was civil war, not against foreign enemies, but between brothers. Caesar, pressed for time and aware that every day strengthened Pompey, made a bold decision to cross the Adriatic. With improvised ships and a reduced army, he risked everything in a night crossing, facing hostile seas and enemy naval supremacy. Many considered it madness, but for Caesar, it was the only chance to bring the fight to the heart of Pompey's strength. When his soldiers set foot on Greek soil, they knew every step from that moment on could be their last. While Caesar advanced with audacity, Pompey chose prudence. Backed by a much larger army and absolute control of the sea, he had no need to risk everything in a direct clash. His allies in the Senate demanded haste, but Pompey, calculating, believed time worked in his favor. With abundant supplies and secure lines of communication, all he needed was patience. The plan was simple. Let Caesar wear himself out, watch his men starve and weaken, until victory came almost without a fight. This strategy reflected not only his military experience, but also his confidence that fortune itself stood with the Republic. The contrast was clear. On one side, Caesar's desperate audacity, on the other, Pompey's calculated patience. Rome watched in silence, knowing that the smallest decision could decide the empire's future. Caesar, surrounded by enemies and outnumbered, did not retreat. Instead, he stunned the world with a daring maneuver. He besieged Pompey at Dyrrhachium, almost unthinkable, a reduced army trying to imprison a far greater enemy. With iron discipline, his men raised miles of fortifications, trenches, and walls, as if chaining a giant with iron shackles. The strategy had a clear goal: cut Pompey's supplies, isolate his army, and make it a prisoner of its own abundance. Each passing day tested the endurance of Caesar's soldiers, who worked tirelessly, driven by faith in a general who never accepted the word impossible. The siege of Dyrrhachium was not just military, it was psychological, an open challenge to Pompey's honor and pride. Yet no wall is unbreakable. Pompey watched in silence, waiting for the flaw that would inevitably appear. And it did. Finding a vulnerable point in the enemy defenses, he launched a devastating attack. His troops advanced with fury, breaking trenches, burning positions, and crushing stunned legions. The clash was brutal. For the first time in a long while, Caesar's men tasted the bitter flavor of defeat. The dust of battle mixed with blood, and the near-mythical confidence in their leader wavered. Caesar, who so often turned daring into victory, now watched his strategy collapse before his eyes. The siege, which promised glory, had become a trap against himself. Caesar rarely experienced defeat, but at Dyrrhachium it was inevitable. His lines broken, his men dead or scattered. The army that had seemed invincible was now wounded. Yet instead of surrendering to despair, Caesar revealed his greatest virtue, resilience. He gathered the survivors, reorganized the legions, and with firm words rekindled the flame of confidence. For many generals, such a defeat would have meant the end. But Caesar knew how to turn failures into opportunities. Instead of clinging to a lost position, he retreated strategically, avoiding Pompey's final blow. This was not cowardice, but wisdom, preserving his strength for the next battle. What could have been the end of his career became only a painful chapter in his path to glory. Pompey had in his hands the chance to crush Caesar once and for all, his army intact, his men confident, while the enemy bled and retreated. But instead of pursuing decisively, he chose caution. Convinced that Caesar was too weakened to recover, he allowed his rival to escape. This decision revealed a crucial difference between the two. Pompey was a cautious strategist, almost conservative. Caesar, a master at turning risks into victories. Pompey's hesitation not only saved Caesar, but opened the path for his resurgence and vengeance. Rome had not yet seen the end of this duel, and the Republic would pay dearly for Pompey's delay. Caesar, though wounded by defeat at Dyrrhachium, wasted no time lamenting. While Pompey believed the enemy permanently weakened, the conqueror of Gaul was swiftly reorganizing. On relentless march, he restored troop morale and sought the perfect ground for a decisive battle. Pompey, confident, gathered a colossal army, backed by the Senate's resources and Rome's richest houses. Everything suggested Caesar would be crushed. But Pharsalus, on the plains of Thessaly, would prove otherwise. The defeat at Dyrrhachium had taught Caesar that even giants could fall, and he was ready to show the world that true power lay not only in numbers, but in the boldness of command. The Battle of Dyrrhachium revealed more than military strategies. It exposed the essence of two leaders: Caesar, daring to the point of recklessness, yet able to rise when all seemed lost. Pompey, victorious, yet paralyzed by excessive caution. Had he pursued firmly, he could have ended the war and sealed Rome's fate. But his hesitation gave Caesar the chance to turn defeat into fuel for victory at Pharsalus. That story echoes to this day. Winning a battle is not enough if one does not know how to seize the victory. The missed opportunity at Dyrrhachium cost Pompey not only the war, but his very life. Rome learned in that struggle that the hesitation of one man can change the course of an empire. Dyrrhachium was only a prelude, but it left a lesson carved into history's heart. War is not won by strength alone, but by the choices made in the decisive moment. Caesar proved that true greatness is not in never falling, but in rising after every fall. Pompey showed that even the most powerful men can lose everything by hesitating before opportunity. In the silence that followed the battle, Rome was no longer before mere generals, but symbols of two opposing visions: boldness versus prudence, action versus waiting. The Republic's fate hung between these forces, and Dyrrhachium was the warning that history is written with courage. The message echoes across centuries. In every life, as in Rome, he who hesitates in the right moment may lose more than a battle. He may lose eternity. just as Caesar turned defeat at Dyrrhachium into the path to victory. This channel exists to transform the way you see history. I deliver these narratives with dedication and detail so you can live each moment as if you were there. In return, all I ask is simple. Leave your like and subscribe. This gesture strengthens the project and allows me to continue bringing stories that not only inform, but transform the way you see the past and even the present.